Hello, Merlin. Welcome to Speaking of Everything. With me, I have the leader of the Up Party here at the show, MP Ottley.
Thank you, thank you. How you doing, Oral? It's
Fine.
a pleasure to be back here. For those who may not know, MP Omar Ottley, the leader of United People's Party.
Well, it's good to have you. I got to give you my condolences on the passing of your uncle, Charlie Myers. He was a true patriot this morning.
Correct. We have big shoes to fill, and that's why I try to represent to the best of my ability. I like to use this moment also, although he is my uncle, but to offer condolences to the wife and his children. You can only imagine the pain. I don't even want to imagine the pain of losing a parent at this moment. But he was like a light to the family. He was the oldest of the siblings. And when we lost our grandparents, so now he automatically became the head.
Yeah.
And by him breaking that chain, because we never experienced a loss like to that level, that close,
Yeah.
it opened up reality now that, hey, God can take anyone at any time, but if it really goes like how it traditionally it's supposed to, your parents and your kids, by him now, it shows like, okay, it's a new wave, it start. And it's a part of life, but he definitely lived a life, and one of his favorite songs was I Did It My Way. And he surely did.
Yeah, and he was president of the Chamber of Commerce at one time, and he was one of the big organizers of that big heavy equipment.
Yes.
And I think you were a little boy at that time.
Yeah, I was like 3, but fighting for the people, that's what it's about. And if you look at our generation from Melford Hazel to Charlie, to Sam Hazel, to Charlie Myers, to Frankie, to me, you have to have that passion to fight for the people and take a stand. It may not always be the popular stand, but what I realized, especially in my tenure, sometimes the same people you're fighting for are the ones against you. And you tend to think, but how can you be negative when I'm fighting for you? And then I learned and I realized very quickly that no matter what you do, you can't please everyone. So you just have to work from the heart. And most of the time, later down, they say, I see what you did that for.
But you come from a long tradition of family serving the people, government. And the last interview I did with you during the campaign for the August 19 parliamentary elections, I really thought you were really going to come out even bigger. Were you disappointed? Because you served as Minister of Visa also for a time. You did a great job there. You had some excellent ideas, but what happened?
What I realized, it's a couple of things. One, I had my uncle running. That's say one, say two, it's a factor. He did 400 plus votes. Even if I wouldn't get all of that, but even if you break the percentage, I fall back where I was. I was the highest at 774. So I don't look at it as a disappointment. I'm actually extremely happy that I can remain where I was, 669, with a major factor running, which is not only your family, but one of your support system. There are people who lost friends or campaign managers and they couldn't even get reelected, or they suffered significantly. So the third highest vote get in the country. So I'd like to take this moment to look in the camera and tell all of you, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for instilling that confidence in me. And look, even in opposition, as you can see already, I'm a force to be reckoned with. I am not going to stay quiet. I'm going to continue to fight for the people, and that's what I do.
Well, you're leader of the Up Party. You're in Parliament now. But I got to ask you very quickly, are you surprised with the results in the U.S. Presidential election?
No. You have a couple of things. You have hype, and then you have what you can look at, influence. So what happened is when you have the world's richest man behind you, and not just donating, but he's actively behind you. He was, for past 17 days leading to the election, he's given $1 million a day for supporters. You know, they tried to take him to court. The court ruled that he can do it. So, and then what I realized is that there were a lot of people who I, in the beginning, saw with Kamala, and then towards the end, there with Trump. So I saw the shift. I saw it happening. But let's see, because regardless, we have to realize that it affects us if it goes bad.
Yeah.
But let's see, because I really think as far as the wars and so forth, I think you're going to see a shift, because he has proven that how he knows how to handle that peacefully.
Right.
He has sat with all the world leaders, sat with the leaders in Afghanistan, sat with Putin, sat with North Korea, and all of it has ended peacefully. So I think that is what one of the main factors people are afraid of the World War III breaking out.
I think too also business. The stock market was rallying yesterday, and the thing about it is that I think we're gonna do better even here in the Caribbean and in St. Martin.
Yeah, because you have the factor of gas went up to $8 and business started to decrease. And if you go to the States, when you do go, you see on every window is like hiring now.
Right.
I think McDonald's was offering up to $20 an hour. That's how bad it was. They even removed drug tests, and if you was a felon, because no one wanted to work, no one was working. So definitely, let's see. I would have liked to see what Kamala could have done, especially a new wave as a black woman. But business-wise, I think if she runs again, she can do some damage. But I think she was just up against a giant.
Yeah. You as leader of the UP, you had a very interesting candidate with you in the last election, Attorney Mr. Richard Gibson Sr.
Correct.
He had some excellent ideas that I thought would have been great had you all got into government, especially that Gebe issue. So you say, when you look at it now, you're not there, but you're in opposition. So pity Mr. Gibson is not in a government where that could have happened. What you think is going on now? Because you had a motion, and they had the leader of the DP, who was also
drink some water for this
go
one.
ahead, who was also president of Parliament here in this program, and the leader of the DP, who's president of Parliament, along with another member of the Democrat Party, and the Prime Minister, who's still in Parliament now as a member of Parliament, voted against your motion.
Perfect. So first of all, I'm glad that you stated those three names, which is MP Sarah Westcott William, MP Virenko Tai, and MP Luke Mercelina. Those are the people, say, man, that didn't vote against my motion, voted against you, voted against your relief. So what happened is people were emotional going into election. So despite what I was speaking of, despite showing the people that I have a plan and I have ideas, they were emotional. Why were they emotional? Everyone on the island in the country was dealing with electricity issues. Everyone. And even if you had a generator, it was costly for you because you had to fuel your generator much more than you supposed to. So everyone campaigned on GEBE. And I was part of a government that sat there for 4 years. So what happened is, by extent, you get the blame as well. So every solution, everything that is brought, it was, but you were there. And I would say, so I list all of these accomplishments that I have done in VSA while I was there as Minister of VSA, but they didn't look at that. They just look at it and see it as one group, and not realizing that every minister or ministry has their responsibility. As a member of Parliament now, I have a broader scope. See, when I was Minister of VSA, I couldn't focus on Verme's issue. I can talk about it and come, but I cannot go make a change. I couldn't go to TEAT. They couldn't come to me. They can give advice, but the execution belonged to me. As a member of Parliament now, I have to focus on the entire government. I can dive into it more, do research more, because now my responsibility is the entire government and not just public health, social development, and labor. Granted, While I was public health, social development, and labor, I did do my best within my parameters with Gebe as VSI is in charge of water production, water to distribution and production. Gebe don't produce water, 7 Seas does. Gebe distributes. Gebe pays 7 Seas to produce this water. There's something called a take-or-pay, where you pay a minimum amount, and if you don't request the take-or-pay, which comes with an automatic extension of 2 years, you then pay the full amount. So Gebe didn't, well, the minister before me didn't request it. So Gebe was paying the full amount for water they didn't use. So example, we used 17, we were paying for 20. So we were even trying to see, okay, the rest 3 that we don't use, let us distribute to schools or whatever. And you couldn't because they were like, you're going to create a discrimination because you're going to hear, what about me? What about this foundation? So we sat and I did a deal with 7 Seas, with the lawyers and Gebe, because 7 Seas wanted to negotiate Kopokoi plant. So I said, okay, well, since we missed the deadline, reopen the take-or-pay. And I only did that because Gebe told me they were not ready to take over the plant, because I was not going to. So I told Gebe, okay, create a plan for the next 2 years. Well, it's going to go to 2027. That you're going to be ready to take over this plan. We started the DDRP scholarship, which was there all the time but never installed. It was installed under my tenure, whereby now locals can go study water production and get us ready. With that deal, I negotiated so hard. The deal now saves Gebe $400,000 a year, compared to what they were paying. Good. On top of that, I did the deal with the friend side, where we can supply water to the friend side. The valve in Oyster Pond was ready to go. The one in Cold Bay needed 3 to 4 months to be ready. The deal went through. I left. Nothing is done. And what I'm saying is this is revenue generating measures for Gebe. I also had an article, September 7, 2023, you can look it up, while I was in government, says Minister VSI Omar Ottley in Gebe sits to see how we can create a relief to the people.
Okay, and I want to hold that there, please, okay? I want to jump back a little bit because I think it's important when it comes to Gebe and water distribution, because the company that produces water for Gebe are using workers from Gebe in their plant. So I want to ask you now, is that still the case today or the case when you was there?
Correct, it is. What happened is, and that's why I said I was not going to extend. We're like, you're using Gebe workers, right? You have maybe 1 or 2 persons from your facility, but it's the management, it's the funds that has to go into it. And when I turn and I ask Gebe, are you ready? And they tell me no, I have to take that into consideration. Because we had electricity problem. One thing we never had was a water problem.
You asked the board or management?
The management.
Yeah.
The meetings was with the management. And they were not ready. Because I think the contract is supposed to be up in 2025. If you don't take the take-or-pay, you take the take-or-pay, it goes to 2027. So with that, I said, okay, well, if you are not ready, because I do not want to be responsible for a water crisis in the country. If you are not ready, then here's what we're going to do. We're going to negotiate for the best possible deal. While negotiating for the best possible deal, we're going to do this deal with the friend side to bring more money.
Okay.
So when you see me speak, it's kind of at some point, and that's why I told the government, we can go at each other, but at some point I have to put you to the side as shareholder, right, and deal with the real problem.
What about
problem was lack of management.
What about the fuel clause when it comes to that water production company, the subsidy?
So exactly. So what we have now, in the same thing, I said people voted on emotions. So they voted on the fact that these not companies, these parties were not in power at the time, and the whole gimmick was we inherited it from the previous government. So people wanted hope. And every one of those persons that you named that voted against the motion campaigned on relief. They campaigned on relief for the people. When we were in government, the same opposition members, some of them who are there now, were saying, wipe off the entire bill. Wipe off everything and start from zero. Playing on the emotions of the people. So when I was in government, or we were in government, it was okay to wipe the entire bill. Now in the motion, we come with a solution. It's not feasible.
But before, the reason I asked the question before is because 7 Seas, there's fuel clause subsidy at one time. And I would like to know if that still exists during your time.
Yes. Yes.
So here you have a multi-million-dollar company receiving the subsidy in a way because of the fuel clause that's not applied to them. I don't know.
Their bills are almost zero. Their bills are almost zero.
You think the people are happy hearing that?
But that's the reality and the transparency. But they offset it with what Gebe owes as well. Gebe owes. At the end of the day, these are things that I stated that these agreements was way before my time.
I understand.
And what I did is try to say, okay, we're in a contract, but let us get the best possible out of this contract, which was the scholarship, which was the amount. And that's why I really was urging Gebe, let us take over. Problem is investments in the plant, upkeep, the funding. So they do spend. It's not that they don't spend. Like the plant, they have to build is millions of dollars. All of that you have to look into. So it's kind of like when you look at Gebe now and asking government or the people to put 75.6 million, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe they wasn't ready because financially they can't even build their own plant. If you understand.
Yeah, I see what happened. It's a little tricky, and I've been on the board there, so I know what's going on, and I don't want to say too much.
Yes, that's why. Yeah.
Also, because it's not what's happening. It's unfortunate because in 2016, I think it was 2016 when I went on the board. In 2017, early 2017, we had a meeting, the supervisory board with the council of ministers, the shareholder. And in that meeting, it was brought up that we can take over the entire water.
2016.
Yeah. Okay, 2016, early 2017. And at the time, William Arnold was prime minister, and he was in full agreement with it. It was a good idea. It didn't happen. Irma came, disaster, and we move on from there. So I understand that. But you were saying something about you had an article appear.
Yes.
So
September 7th, 2023, while I was still in government, about the possibility of relief. And I even went to try officially at first get a relief for seniors when it comes to water and so.
What I told you?
You can't because...
who said they could? The Gebe?
The management. Here why. It's discriminatory. Then it is like, why not across the board, etc. Okay, cool. Okay, I understand. A couple months later, I saw Gebe announce discount rate for seniors. So I called. I was like, but I said, you know what? I'd rather you do it than me, because honestly, I do understand the discriminatory when it comes to things. So things may sound nice, but in law and practice, you're gonna hear. But what about the single mothers? What about this? What about? No problem. And I say all this to lead up to the essence of the motion.
Okay.
So the motion, I'm going to give you a few points. It says to ensure that government ensures that business do not transfer TOT in their invoices, as this is not common practice. And one of the things that the chair lady stated was like, oh, it's illegal, so this didn't even need to be in your motion. And I said, dear chair lady, then why is the government charging TOT? Because if you look at your breakdown of your fuel bill, St. Martin, from the government, TOT is in there, which is illegal. I showed them a bill from the main distributor. TOT is in there. So you have TOT being passed to the harbor passes TOT to the vessel passes it to the consumer.
And the banks know
everybody and passing it to us. So by the time we are the last. And if you don't relate with we, you are the last. And by the time you get it, that 5% turns to what? 40%?
Oh, yeah.
So a simple thing by ensuring that the law is followed saves you, St. Martin, 35 to 40%. Easy. And this is not only on gas and Gebe. This is on food, clothes, merchandises, electronics, everything, right or wrong. That's number one. Number two, I'll save that one for last. That was the elephant in the room. I also asked for the Minister of Tariff to create a special tariff within her power invested in her based on a concession ordinance via national decree for residential for the same period as whatever Luke Mercelina ties us into this contract with Gebe. So you are asking the people of St. Martin to pay $75.6 million for and lease the generators to Gebe. So whether it's 20 years, how much ever years the people are leasing this, they deserve that relief. I also said for the Minister of Tariff to do the same thing for businesses for a period of 3 months. And then sit with the businesses and come with a more permanent, relevant solution. I also asked that Gebe provide up-to-date financial reports. The last audit report was 2019. How we as government that are struggling, the Prime Minister said months before, the country is bankrupt. He said it, but now we're paying 75.6 for a company. But a company that doesn't have up-to-date financials.
But that's been traditionally in Gebe, unfortunately. That's a cultural issue when it comes to that.
See? So, in the motion is basically giving the government the power to say, hey, I need this now. Because as an investor, I ask you for investment, you St. Martin. You're going to want to see my financials. And I tell you, the last financial I have it 3 years ago, that's not going to cut it. So I asked that. And the last one was for Gebe to give immediate relief by considering, hear that word? Considering 50% write-off of our residential bills to a maximum of 5,000 guilders. Now, the reason I put a maximum and taking into consideration the company's feasibility, financial feasibility. See those words? So the reason I put 5,000 max is because actually some residents have bills of 12, 16,000. So you won't get 8,000 right off, your maximum is 5. I put a max, a cap. So you have those now that say, it's impossible, the company can't afford it, the company can't afford it. And I say to them, 2 things. If the company can't afford it, the motion says, considering the financial feasibility, where the company then has to answer me and say, what can you afford?
In fact, that's why I think if I interpret what the President of Parliament, Leader of DP, said, it's not possible, so she was going to vote for it.
And that's the thing. Her argument is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know why? She's saying it's not possible because the company can't afford it. How do you know? The last financial report of 2019, how do you know? Gebe is paying for 10 generators that they're renting. They bought another 20 without the help of government or anybody. How broke is Gebe? How do you know? And that's why I asked for the financial audits. And that's why you need to be up to date. And if you are worried about the financial status of the company, that shows you didn't even read my motion, because it says considering the company's financial feasibility. Now let me tell you this. Here's where I'm going to put the spin to make everybody know that it's only political what they're doing. Number one, it's a whole media blitz against Ottley's motion. But Ottley didn't vote on the motion alone. It got support by 11 of us. Coalition and all. Luke Mercelina spoke about he wished seniors were included. Gebe don't have a category for seniors. They have residents and commercial. Seniors fall under residents. So your argument is null and void. We speak about those who have paid their bills, who have struggled to pay their bills and say, well, it's not fair that I pay my bill and those people who ain't paid the bill getting a break. Well, I say to those persons, if the tariff is reduced, you will feel the benefit. When the TOT is immediately removed, you will feel the benefit. And not because you have been paying means your bill is correct, means your fuel clause is not exaggerated. So I'm trying to bring a relief to you as well. Everyone falls under that. Either you're residential or commercial. We all fall under one company. So you paying alone cannot sustain GEBE. GEBE surviving 90% of a commercial, which means that residential is their biggest problem. And if GEBE cannot suffice, the reason that we're going through this, saying that a government is asking you now to pay $75.6 million, is because the residentials has lagged behind. So you cannot think like, I've been paying my bills whatever with them, because if this continues, right, then you will feel the burden of it. Because whether you're paying your bills or not, we all dealt with load shedding. And damages to equipment. Who's compensating you for that? Then they tell you, oh, you should have had a surge protector.
But even those get mashed up too.
Even those get mashed up. So the people are going through it. And I say to this, now as a businessman, we spoke about business, you're a businessman. And for St. Martin, try to understand me. We had a hack where GB lost a year of information, no backup, no nothing. That is not the fault of the people. You tell people, pay the amount you were paying all the time. I'm an example. I was paying the amount I was paying all the time. But why do I still have a balance when the time came around? Why did I still have a balance? You know why? Because if you realize your bills were not the same as you were paying all the time, it increased because GB needs to recoup. Any company that's facing more expense, what they do? Add expense to their consumers.
They pass along the cost.
Thank you. So you have a fuel clause where your bill is $200 and your fuel clause is $7. So then what are we doing? Another factor. This is business 101, Aura. There are persons who can afford $200 gillas a month.
Right.
But they cannot afford 2,000 or 4,000 gillas, one-time payment, to be reconnected. And the fact that, you should have been paying your bills, I do agree, but we have to take some kind of onus. GEBE is chasing all the money that is past due when you were at fault for not sending bills. Some people still haven't received bills to this day, 3 years later. Still haven't received bills. Okay? So by not collecting money now because you have a past due bill, you're losing present and future revenue. I was in GEBE, and I'm going to say this story till I can't say it no more. I seen it. Nobody tell me. A gentleman came in to pay his bill. And they told him, you can't pay your bill at the moment. You have 3 months outstanding. He said, okay, I don't think so. They said, well, right, the customer service was amazing. I can't lie. Well, if you have your receipt, sir, you can bring it in and we'll rectify it. He said, okay, but can I pay down on just this month? They said, no, because we don't skip months. So the gentleman had no choice but to walk out with his $200 of dollars. He had no choice but to walk out because he could not be back because there's a back pay. That says two things. One, your billing system is not up to date because if he indeed paid, you don't have it up to date. Or two, you are not able to collect that revenue. So when I went, I said, how much time do you deal with that? It's like sometimes 10 to 15 times a day. If I take $200 times 10, it's $2,000. You're saying you're in a financial bind, but you're letting money walk out the door. That's what I'm saying. You have to think business-wise. I spoke to business people that said when Hurricane Irma hit and people couldn't pay or they had like fall behind, they didn't cut them off. They came to a solution because you have to maintain your revenue.
That was Hurricane Omar, right?
Yeah. But you have to maintain your revenue. So that's like me telling you, well, you come to pay a bill. I tell you, well, I can't put you back on the grid because you owe $10,000 and you're going to say the bill wrong. But I want you to pay $5,000 to be reconnected.
You know why I smile, MP? Because I was there at that time, and the management that was there and the board did an excellent job in making sure that management worked closely with business and all the other consumers. So, you see, today is a different situation.
Thank you.
Look, I'm not here to criticize the current management of GBE or the board, but I'm going to say this. That management that was there, okay, with Iris and Chitik, they had a compassion for the community, but they also had a business sense of what was happening.
You have to.
Okay, so they will contact the large consumers and work with them. I understand, I'm not sure how true this is, that GB at one time cut off a big consumer without any notification. They don't do business like that. So that's just a little injection of what you're saying.
So that's what I'm saying. So let me give you, so now here comes the tale for the same man who may not recognize. So you're saying it can't be done, it don't be done, it's not financial sense. God has a funny way of just exposing everything. But 2 days later, Aqua Elect in Curacao teams up with the Minister of Social Affairs to do a pilot project to reconnect thousands in Curacao that are disconnected. They're going to put them on a grid, even if it's prepaid, to allow them to consume what they can consume. You know why? St. Martin has hundreds of persons, and I said it, that are living without electricity, a basic need.
And I know one for over 17 years, huh?
Oh.
I know one, but that was over. That was fixed.
You see?
Just recently.
You see?
Yeah.
And in the motion it says, right after financial feasibility, it says to allow those vulnerable groups to be reconnected and enjoy electricity as a basic need. So what Curacao realizes is that, hey, while we have bills of millions, these are thousands of persons that are not paying into our system monthly. Let us put them back on. And they want to put them back on before the holiday. So they realize now with these thousands connected, the revenue will increase automatically monthly. As a businessman, am I lying, Aura?
No, you're right. And they have prepaid meters, something that we pushed for GP, never materialized.
So my thing is, we're approaching the holiday season, we're approaching the season, you want us to pay bills, and that's why I didn't agree with the 75.6. Let me make that clear. But I know it was going to pass. They had the numbers. But I said, if it's going to pass, we have to provide some type of relief for the people. That's why I brought this motion. Because it's only a matter of time that GB has to pass that bill for the 30 generators to you. It's only a matter of time GB's going to have to pass the inflation to you. Well, to us, because all of us. Right? So I turn around, they say it's not feasible, it can't be done. Curacao did it. Yesterday, I opened the newspaper online. Aruba decreased the tariff by 4.2% for their electricity. Everything that I've asked in my motion to be done that the MP is screaming is impossible, our kingdom partners are doing it.
Maybe that GB is in more financial problems than, say, Electra and the one in...
No, it's not. No, it's not. All of them, if you read the article, all of them have the same problems. Imagine this. You think Curacao has thousands of people that are disconnected. You don't think they have the same problem? And then, since we want to say that, okay, compare the utility bills in Curacao and in St. Martin. GB makes 2/3, or our bills are 2/3 higher than Curacao and Aruba. 2/3. Do your research. So, what are you doing wrong? What did you do wrong? And then number two, okay, Aqua Elect got money. They got a big investment. We're gonna go that road. Did you know that multiple companies that invested in Aqua Elect are from St. Martin? I'm talking millions, Oral. And did you know that some of those companies wanted to invest in GEBE and still has interest to invest in GEBE?
Well,
but you know why they didn't invest in GEBE? They requested GEBE to provide up-to-date financials and a reporting mechanism to them yearly. And GEBE refused.
But you see, GB refused. GB is a government-owned company. Your number two candidate, when he was Minister of Finance, right? insisted and actually forced Gebe to work on the financials. They were back by, I think, 2013 or 2012 or whatever at the time. And he was Minister of Finance, Gibson, and he was very strict on that to make sure that Gebe brought it up to date. So now we're here in 2024, and I'm hearing from you, they're behind again?
Still not.
It doesn't.
Let me see if I find it for you real quick, just to show the public of St. Martin something that really. So I wrote a letter to one of the investors,
right,
as a member of Parliament, and it says, just one other part, the company, I won't say the name, remains committed to investing and contributing to the environmental sustainability and long-term viability of the island. Such investment, however, must align with our investment policy to maintain a balance in portfolio. They said our local company investment is interested. However, to follow up, please have a formal request submitted through the Minister of Finance if the government choose for our company to play a role in enhancing Gebe energy supply. Formal request should be go to XYZ, I won't say the name. This ensures the process is established protocols. So which means a couple of things. This company, which also invested in Aqua-Elect, right, is willing to invest in Gebe. If Gebe can align with their profiles and portfolio, which means that St. Martin would not have had to put the 75.6 million in their budget. The 75.6 million, St. Martin, in order for that to fit, housing project was removed. Okay, for social housing. Cemetery project was removed because we don't have cemetery space. Gebe phase 1 project was removed. So the people of Gebe. High school was removed. Now, they're going to say we put it to CapEx 2025. But CapEx 2025 is not guaranteed, it's a wish. We have not received CapEx in 2012 or 13. The previous government, our government, secured CapEx. So all the side roads, all the roads you're seeing being fixed was from our plan. And therefore, the CapEx that is now in 2024 had a high probability, 98% chance of those being carried out. Now, 2025 is no guarantee that the Netherlands is going to give you CapEx. See what I'm saying? So all of these projects are moving. That was my problem with instilling this in the budget. And instilling it, asking the people to pay for it without the relief. So it's no way that you can tell me anything that I've asked is not feasible. Because by allowing people back on the grid, you will allow yourself to receive more present and future revenue. The minister has the authority to decrease the tariff, even if you say 3 months, 2 months, decrease, give the people some relief. It will act as a compensation mechanism because the people need to be compensated. It's no one on this country, in this country right now, can tell me they were not affected negatively by JBE. SHDA said there were 41% loss of business, 19% loss of stock. You say you know someone for 17 years living without electricity, a basic need. The last significant improvement that we saw with GEB was like Lambert days. I mean, so what are we doing?
I have to go to a quick break. We will come back and talk some more about GB because I know a lot of people want to get a better explanation as to why the others went along with your motion and Free went against it, because the entire Parliament could have gone and voted for your motion. And some people say, well, it still wouldn't happen, but we'll come back and talk about it. All right? So in case you've just joined us, this is Speaking of Everything. I'm here speaking with the leader of the Up Party, MP Ottley. When we come back, we'll continue. Please stay with us. My guest on Speaking of Everything is leader of the UP Party, former minister, also Vesa MP Ottley. He's my guest there on Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. So basically, someone's saying, well, we gone along with your motion and nothing would have happened because Gebe just can't do it. It's not possible right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a couple of things. Those, and I hear MPs screaming now that all of a sudden it's a wish and it can't happen. Not MPs, a specific MP. If it can't happen, then that's on the onus of the government. You see, a wish, not a wish, a motion. It's not just a wish. A motion is an indication of the majority of Parliament saying this is the direction we would like the government to go. The Parliament that holds the government responsible.
The Parliament instruct government what they want to see.
Yeah, so it's you request. So as Parliament, you're saying, hey, the majority of Parliament, the people that oversee you, would like you to take this direction. That's what this motion is saying.
But Gebe will come back and say, hey, look, guys, we can't afford it. It's not possible.
So you're going to say you can't afford it, it's not possible, and then I'm going to say, okay, show me your financials. Show me how do I know Gebe doesn't have a profit? Did you expect Gebe to be able to buy 30 generators cash? And say, oh, we will not pass it to the consumer?
But look,
so my thing is this. There's a couple of things. There's a couple of things. One, if Gebe turns and say, our financial situation is not possible, right? I'm going to say, okay, show me. Did you execute the other stuff in the motion which is possible, which is for government to request up-to-date financials? Also, the people will see immediate relief if the government ensures that TOT is not added. It's one. You don't need Gebe for that. It's the government to ensure that TOT is not passed on to the consumer.
But Gebe is not adding TOT.
Oh, no. But by the time it gets to Gebe, so what you have is Sol.
Okay.
That puts the TOT. The harbor puts the TOT.
Okay. This one, that's
to
clarify
the vessels then put the TOT.
Okay.
But your gas, right? Or I can show you a gas bill. The gas structure of St. Martin has TOT in it. The breakdown from the government. So when gas goes up, it goes down, whatever. If you look at what is published by the government, it has TOT. Yeah. So that's double taxation, regardless of where it comes from. So that could be removed ASAP. You will see an automatic relief. Even if the bill goes up, it goes down, you save 5% that used to be added in there. And you're going to save from it coming from the top, trickle down. Number two, the reduction of the tariff is not up to Gebe. It's up to the minister. It's up to the minister. So the reduction of the tariff for residential is up to the Minister of Tate, who already was working on something called a Tariff 60, a reduction for seniors. So I'm saying, since they told me that is discrimination, do it for across the board. I said I would like to see it for the amount of time that Gebe is borrowing the money from us. But the minister can come back and say, MP, I can do it for 6 months. The tariff reduction for businesses is not up to Gebe. So what I'm saying is this, is that it can be done. And Gebe cannot tell me, number one, if you say, okay, I cannot wipe off 50% of the bill, my next question will be, how much can you wipe off? Then they say, I can't because we're owed this amount. And I'm going to say, how much are you actually collecting at this moment? Compared to how much you are letting go. Because Gebe used to collect upwards of 15 to 20 million a month. Okay? So how much are you collecting now compared to before the hack? Don't look at the bills what's outstanding. Right. Let's look at what are you collecting. So you're telling me an example, St. Martin, an example. If you used to collect 30 million, but you're collecting 10 now, and you have 150 on the road, why not get us back to the 30 million a month?
MP, I do this interview with you, and it's kind of difficult for me because I gotta control myself. And at the same time, I can't say much, and I try to speak in parables, understand what you're saying. I'm aware of a lot of things, but I'm going to say this. The 10 container engines that were bought, right, with cash. There are a lot of speculations around that. And there are people making money off of that too. But nobody wants to say who they are, right? This is what hurts in St. Martin. There are too many deals taking place, okay? A lot of deals, and in the end, and your number two, Mr. Gibson, said it here on this program. He said, when there's corruption, you pay, okay? I thought by now it would have been over. But apparently, it's still there.
And again, you remember when, and this is what I'm saying, what I realized in my tenure, I was so transparent. Whether it's good, it's bad. If something was bad, I put it out there and tell the people, this is happening, but I'm going to work on it.
That's the best policy.
But I realized the people punish you for that. Because now, there are people saying, but this government's so quiet, so smooth, nothing going on. And there's crisis all over. There's a tell him crisis.
Oh boy, that's a little
tell him was it's only a matter of time till tell him is a problem. Tell him just had to pay the mayor group $3 million plus because they had a lien on all the receivables. Tell him paid it according to the Prime Minister's answers, they paid it in full. So which means that came from your already bleeding coffers. Number two, SZV put out that, hey, we are projected to lose 19 million this year and 23 million next year. I told them, I said, you're putting this money into Inia, paying for central bank's mishap. And salaries were $2 billion. The policyholders of Inia never missed a payment. Ansari paid back. Besides the Malabi saga, Ansari paid back that list of payments with interest. So why is Central
paid back?
Paid back.
Yeah,
So why is why is Central Bank? Now I'm not saying all hail Ansari. I'm not saying, I don't even know the gentleman. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and I want what belongs to us.
Yeah.
But I'm talking financial now. If you paid, why is Central Bank still needing money on injection to tie us in for 30 to 50 years? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What Ansari did was wrong. And this is why I said to St. Martin, I said, I do not want to support this Inia saga because, let me tell you, it was nothing against the 3,000 policyholders. Again, I said APS has an obligation to invest 60% of its stock locally, 40% abroad.
Right.
Go to APS, discuss with APS to get these 3,000 policyholders, make a legislative change, right? That just add these policyholders. Let us pay then the 2 million dividends instead of going to central bank, pay it to APS, who then has to invest in our country. So we could have taken the policyholders, right? Put them under APS, pay APS the same dividends, what has to come to us. APS then in turn make 2 million, they know that money is secure for the next 30 years, and same APS could have invested in GEBE. Right. See how everything stays locally?
But there were forces against that.
And let me tell you now the forces. So they're going to jump and say no because a couple of things. They're going to say the Dutch was threatening us with an increased interest rate.
Right.
I said, St. Martin, now, being in government, originally the Dutch was trying to force ex-Minister Aaron to take a loan. I did not agree with it. Everyone said he tried to find a way. So he tried to find a way by saying, okay, central bank's supposed to pay us dividends. We'll use that. They haven't paid us in a while anyway, so we use that dividends. The now Minister of Finance came in her first meeting and said, no, I don't agree. We could use that money for schools, for bridge, for this, for lunch programs. And she sold me. And then when she came back with the same plan. And that's what I told her. I said, even though I was in government, at some point you can say, I thought we had it right, but you made me realize this is not the right way. And she did that. And I told her that. The Honorable Minister of Finance.
The current minister.
Yeah, the current. But when the Honorable Minister came back with the same plan, I said, I cannot. Because you made me realize what I thought was good wasn't good. And I told him this. And this is why I gave the option of the APS. And I told him this. I said, if the Dutch is willing to put in a stipulation for us to handle Inia, or they're going to increase the interest rate, that means the ramifications of us not handling Inia is larger for them. Because what happened is we had 3,000 Curacao had 27,000. We could have lasted 4 years. Curacao couldn't last 6 months. They needed it now. So Curacao couldn't afford. So what this bailout did was for Curacao. And I told them, what about Malaby? Oh, Malaby belongs to a private, some result, private. I said, when you find out, Central Bank, because of the situation, has control of Malaby. Who owns Central Bank? Curacao. St. Martin. Who has more shares in Central Bank? Curacao. So who has more shares in Malaby? Curacao. You just bailed out Curacao 27 policyholders, 27,000 policyholders, and they have majority in Malaby. They were such in a dire need, Curacao, going into election right now, right? That if we had said, well, we have a different option. You want us to invest to save your people because our people have time and we can make that legislative change. Give us, relinquish your interest in Malaby. Give us more. Give it to us. And I could say St. Martin I would have voted for. They didn't do that. Now you read the day after the voting, we celebrating. And it was an article against myself and others for voting against. And I didn't go on a rant. I said time will be the best teacher. The very next day in Curacao Parliament, the advisor to the Prime Minister said, Central Bank controls Malaby. The government of St. Martin can say what they want. We control Malaby. It's in the article. Now we see an article, Malaby green light for sale. And then they say, well, we have matching right. You know what's matching right? St. Martin bid 100 million. A random company bid 200 million. They're going to say, okay, St. Martin, you have the right to match that company plus 5%. Now, Oral, this is what I was telling them. How are we going to get $200 million? Or even $150 million, not guilders. How are we going to get it? We have to take a what? A loan. I said, what you're going to pay for to get Malaby is going to pass what you're running from with this interest. All you're doing is taking the same deal and pushing it back down the road. Because you ran from the interest and the people now want Malaby. And you're going to have to try to get it for matching rates of 5%. And you know who benefits more? Because if you sell it, just an example, if you sell it for 100 million, you know who get 80 million and who get 20 million? Curacao gets 80. And it goes to their policyholders. The same 27,000 that we locked ourselves in for 30 to 50 years, the sale of Malaby benefits them. That's why Central Bank say, lower for St. Martin benefit, but Central Bank wants it at the highest value to benefit their policyholders.
You know, MP, I want to jump back to Gebe and loans. In the past, Pacific Life was the company that financed Gebe purchase of generators, right? And the terms were very strict. What Gebe couldn't do and how to had to maintain certain financial levels. And there are some people in St. Martin and groups of people who, and I think this is where the problem, you know, Gebe is manipulated by certain forces and groups, and it's hurting the people of St. Martin. Okay, so when there's something good for Gebe, if it's not good for some of these groups, it doesn't fly, right? I don't know what the conditions were at the time now where there was plans to have APS finance, and then this other group said, no, they want Pacific Life. But I can tell you one thing, and I've seen it from my experience. Some of these people will go to great lengths to make sure that one particular company get that deal. I'm not going to call it by the way, but it's unfortunate. All of these things are why Gebe is in a mess today.
Oral, there are people from the public that submitted petitions against the fuel clause. There are people that are ending up at the hospital. You're a man of principle. Imagine yourself in their shoes. You are a man taking care of your family. You get a GEBE bill that They don't come for however long. You've been struggling trying to pay your last couple bills, your last amount. So you know you've been paying your last amount for the past year. Now you get a bill that says you have a balance of 6,000. You know you don't have it. You know you can't afford it. And you look at your family, you know you're going to be disconnected because they say, pay this within 30 days or you're disconnected. Yeah. You have no one to go to. And you go to Gebe and say, okay, can I give you 200 guilders? And they say, no, we want 50%.
But that's not what they're doing. Because yesterday I saw a person that told me that a huge bill, Gebe, huge, over 25,000. And Gebe proposed a huge cut for them.
A cut?
Yeah.
So they propose a cut. So then my motion can happen.
So I mean, I'm surprised that happened because hey.
Okay. So then I'm glad you said. So then my motion is not crazy.
And by the way, I'm not kidding. By the way, I'm not making this
you're
up.
Not a man to kid. So then there you go. My motion can happen. But then what you're gonna say? Then I'm gonna do it for some and not for others. Because if they propose a huge cut,
but they have to pay everything else up in full.
But it don't matter. You propose a cut, so it can be done. Then if
the condition that you have to pay the remaining balance in full, yeah.
But then do it. But then that's what I'm saying. Tell me what can be done. I have never said. Listen, I'm not saying write off 50% of the bill and don't only the people pay now. I'm saying either or you reconnect the people so you can collect monthly, right. Or you write off the bill and you come with a stipulation. But that's logic because right. What is happening is you're telling people in the beginning, you have this bill, pay 50%, and then you're reconnected. So if you write off that bill and tell them pay the rest, then you just save them. And that's all I'm saying. So you just answered the question, and that's not what you think, that's what you know happened. Yeah. So it can be done. It can, and the reason I said it...
It was in black and white, by the way, okay?
But the reason I put it in my motion, and I'm waiting for Gebe to say, and I'm going to be honest right here, I'm going to give you the exclusive. I know of some people that they have done it with. That's why when you ask me, Gebe going to come back and say they can't do it, oh my God, I'm waiting for them. Because you're going to have to explain how some, because what good for the goose, good for the gander.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me it can't be done because I know you have done it.
You got to be across the board.
And I wasn't going to say it, but since we're going there, and it's across the board because I know you have done it with some. So I was waiting. That's why I didn't want to throw all my artillery out there. That's why when you keep saying, Gebe's going to come back and say they can't do it, I say, well, they're going to have to prove to me you can't do it. But again, I'm not selling the people a dream. What I'm saying is, this is the direction that I would like to go. The majority of Parliament believe in it. So the government responsibility is to come back and say, okay, we have had this meeting, this. This is what could be done. And now, all of a sudden, you hear the chair lady say, I'm going to call a meeting for relief. But it took my motion for you to want to call a meeting for relief. It took my motion, and this is what I'm saying. We need to remove that political atmosphere. And this is my sentiments, not yours, but it goes back to what you are saying. It makes you wonder when people vote against certain things and then they try to bring the same thing you are bringing. It makes you wonder and question their motive, as if, that's why I'm asking, why aren't we approaching these companies to finance Gebe for 75.6? Why is the government, who is a shareholder, willing to put this in their budget, remove all of these projects for the people to lease, and go to the Netherlands, go to BZK? Because you know what's going to happen with BZK? They're going to come with stipulations and requirements. Because, say, Martin, if you don't know, they're going to loan us the money, but we have to pay it back because CAPEX is a loan.
Right.
And who's going to pay it back? All of us. So you're going to have high bills that's going to come within the next year. You're going to have to pay back that loan. They remove projects for housing, school, cemetery, all of those things. You're going to have to pay it back. And you may not see what I'm saying now, but in the near future, you will say he had it right. And I showed you. Curacao, do it. Aruba, do it. All of them have financial constraints.
Well, engine 19 is back up and working.
Mm-hmm.
So things should be a little better now, I assume, right?
Yeah, we assume once everything is maintained, once everything checks and balance, and how. Yes, let me just stay on positivity because I don't want to call goat mouth. I stay on positivity, but I'm happy that everything is up and working. And it goes back to when I said with the election.
Yeah.
For some reason, some miracle during the election, the week of, no power outages. The very next day. But so people were emotionally tied to their grievances. They were frustrated.
Yeah.
And they wanted hope. And then the people were speaking of relief. But now is the opportunity because you're in the seat. You can make it. But it's not that what the motion is about. It's the fact that Omar Ottley brings it. Opposition. I hear some of them saying, those who went against. Yeah, but you're voting for opposition motion. That's how far it goes, St. Martin. Obviously, it's one of the three. But I'm not going to say, wait, you're voting for opposition motion. You can't be voting for opposition. Budget 2025 is coming up. Pay attention. Pay close attention, St. Martin. But when we was swearing in, the coalition gave the most kumbaya speech of us working together. Let's work together. Put politics out the door. But we can't support the motion because it's opposition. And then you're thinking you're hurting me. You're not hurting me. You're hurting the people. And then you're not also hurting the people because I didn't vote on it by myself. So when you speak of, selling a dream, that means then your same coalition is selling a dream.
Some of the coalition members voted along with it.
And the most important thing, buy-in I got, was the Minister of TEAT agreeing. Because she said she can find herself in most of it. Maybe not all, but I didn't expect her to find herself in all because all is not her responsibility. The TOT action, the Minister of Finance responsibility.
Well, MP, I'm going to jump back again and say something, sometime on this island, and I said it 2 times already, when it comes to Gebe and financing, Pacific Life and APS and all the others, that whole thing there is a very, very strange and dirty deal happening, or used to happen, or could happen. The thing is, I don't know who the local investors are who are interested in financing the purchase of Gebe engines, but I've always maintained, and people who know me, that we should go local first. Okay, so I was never in favor of, say, Pacific Life, and I come out and say that publicly, knowing that some of my enemies would be angry that I said that, because I know what happened and how they tried to make sure that company always stay in the financing deals with Gebe, which I think is wrong. Right? We sit here, we talk, you're a young political leader. I've been on Gebe board, I've been the biggest opponent of Gebe over the years on my television program. And I said it to your colleague in Parliament, the leader of the DP, the President of Parliament on this program 2 days ago. I was all over Gebe until I went to the board. And I got to see things from a different perspective. And I saw people who love that company, people in that company who work hard every day to make sure it works. And then what you get is all these people playing games and deals with Gebe is why we are where we are today.
And that's what I'm saying, and I said it, and I wanted people to realize, and I had a conversation with someone, I said, we need to decipher the emotions. I know you work for Gebe, and I admire and appreciate every single person that is working for Gebe. And when I speak of the mismanagement, those that were empowered know who I'm speaking of. And if those are upset, then that's you. But the people, the hardworking staff, the young men that goes out, that fix, it's nothing against you, because you are doing your job. But we need to facilitate as government that your job is easier, right? Your conditions are healthier. And that is what is important. That is what is extremely important. And I say this is that the whole idea is to secure financing for this job. And when you have people that are willing to put the country, right, in a burden or in a bind for whatever particular reason, that is very dangerous. And I said it in my article, we can give tax relief to the rich. I am not against tax relief. I'm not against tax holidays. I believe in the economic
It attract investment to your country.
But I believe that you have to have a balance.
Right.
And every time something is for the people, it's an excuse. I spoke of AUC. AUC still owes St. Martin 57.5 million. I don't know if the time frame has elapsed where they don't owe it, but it used to owe 57, was never collected. A tax holiday was given to AUC. They sold to DeVry 200 plus. Out of 34.5%, they only collected 10%. So $57.5 million were remaining. Mm-hmm. Why not? I was in power then. And it goes back to what you said. These problems that you have listed are way before my time. And I hear MPs jump up in Parliament and say, oh, 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, that's their only song. So my question is, because I was there 4 years, am I not supposed to work no more? In actuality, my tenure as politician is 4 years. I was not in there from 1991. So I think majority of those damages that we speak of with this country, we should reflect of those who were there for 30 plus years. Let us not forget, 4 years doesn't write off the damages from before. 4 years doesn't, I wasn't there when they signed Inzo knowing that a company was facing financial problems and bankrupt to do the hospital, but I fixed the mess. I wasn't there when the airport saga and all the nonsense went on, but while I was Minister of TEAT, I had to deal with the mess and with the extension and of the hall. But now today, everyone taking pictures.
Have they invited you over to see it?
No. Everyone could go groundbreaking. When it's good, they take the picture. When it's bad, they say the previous government.
They run.
Do you realize the Hail Mary, the holy grail of this government is a law that I took from MP Bryson as he sent it to the council. He had serious remarks. I said, let me do it. I have the resources as minister, which is the health levy. That is the holy grail of this government. I'm asking for their revenue generating processes. The only thing they're speaking of is the health levy that I put is at the Senate. They have no plans. Everything that is bad is the previous. Think of everything that they have done. Everything that we have chaired them for. The Carnival Village repair, he just did what Silveria had put and Gerendi had put. The airport. And what is amazing is that when I was there, the job fairs, that was my budget, the biggest job fair that they had the other day. I left that budget there for them. What is so amazing is that everything that we also that I put in place is the shelters, right? That was there by immediately. But I came in, I saw the benefit of the shelters. I did a bid. We actually got a reduced price compared to what immediately had. I said, no, let's do a bid. Shut down the HAP, Dennery Clinic.
Let me ask you about that, because that was a good deal. And a lot of people I spoke with think that it was so beneficial to them that they could go there instead of having to go to the hospital, stay 5, 6, 7 hours sometime. I'm not putting on the hospital here because I think St. Martin Medical Center is doing a much better job right now. But it was so good. But then it's no longer there.
Look, already when I was doing it, I had to fight to do it.
Really?
Fight to
Why
do
is
it.
that?
Because,
something that
as a minister, I realize a lot of things are outdated and a lot of people are stuck in their ways. And if I believe that this is how it's customary, I want to keep it like that. And we're not expanding, we're not growing, and we're always behind. And if I have an issue with oral, I'm going to make sure that oral is always lagging behind. You understand?
Yeah.
So we did, and I said it's going to benefit the people, and it did. So when I saw the report come out from SFA, I was like, okay, it's kind of, damning. Then when I find out the report was only for the first 6 months, they're using an old report. So this is a project that went ahead that never happened before in St. Martin. So they said, okay, let's start the process, and then we're going to evaluate as we go.
It's very progressive, actually.
So the company, they did things, okay, they charge for whether you come in an injection or whatever, and you met with them, and you told them in the first 6 months, this can't happen, this can't happen, this can't happen, okay. So a year after that, you shut them down based on the basis of 6 months.
But the minister said she didn't shut them down.
She says SFA, she puts the blame on SFA, but the minister controls. So if the minister wanted, it'll be open today. Right? I need to say up-to-date evaluation. There was no up-to-date evaluation. Well, recently we just received in Parliament all the rebuttals to their evaluations and a petition with over 1,300 signatures.
Really?
So I'm going to bring that to the floor of Parliament for an urgent meeting, and we're going to have to answer. Because while I am in proponent of securing the funds, and if the company did do fraud, they should be penalized. But you can't penalize me for something that we said, because they were at the table, we were all there, said, okay, this was never done, so we're going to regulate as we go. So your first 6 months, you're going to regulate stuff. But then you need an up-to-date audit. You're closing me based on a year ago. I have made changes since then.
But could it be that the St. Martin Medical Center feels that service was hurting them financially?
Well, I can't say. Could be. I heard now, we need to look in and putting it at the same St. Medical Center, which they don't have the facility for. They're also saying that what they're using is in the doctor's regulations. They should be able to work at night. The doctor said, we're not doing that for what you're paying us. And I think we need to understand that people, I always say this, people don't mind paying for something that is increase in benefit to them.
Right.
But you can't charge me high tax with no increase. Can't charge me higher tariff with no increase. I told him at the end of the day, the people that went are real life people, real life cases. How can you deny that?
Yeah, I think that the whole idea was very progressive, and a lot of people liked it.
They loved it, and it became. And then one of the complaints were like crazy things in the report, like, they went. They couldn't tell if people went or they were in pain because people were laughing.
That was in the report?
Yeah, I promise you. People are going now for convenience. I said, so for once we can't give people convenience? Not every boss gives you a chance to go to the doctor. So you're going to say, I'm going to go after 5 when I'm done. I'm going the weekend. They're saying, no, we're paying them to go to oral as a Dr. Oral, and they're coming to Dr. Omar at 5 o'clock. But it's about time we give the people convenience.
In fact, that helps productivity.
Thank you. And it's no fault to the medical center, because I've been in the medical center and sat down and watched the ambulance come back to back to back to back with one doctor working.
Yeah.
But when you see complaints of people being there from 8 in the morning, I recently saw their editor, a woman was there from 8 in the morning, she passed out at 2 in the afternoon, still not getting help.
Yeah, they really are understand. Most of the patients are well taken care of now, better than before. I was very, very impressed when I was there like 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months. And I got to tell you, man, St. Martin Medical Center, I feel proud of what they're doing. Yeah. But that part where you have to go in for emergency or you have to wait long hours, that still exists. And I think that's why that service you offered, that other plan they have, was so great.
Yeah, because we're overpopulated.
Yeah.
When St. Martin was created, when Medical Center was created for a population of 16,000, we have not adjusted. With the few changes that we made, is probably for a population of 18, 19, and we have a population of 40, 50. So we're overcrowded, overpopulated. They cannot deal with it. So there you have it, I'm saying continuation is the key. And time is of the essence. I believe everything is for a reason. I believe that is my journey to be in opposition. It's going to make me a way better politician. And when the time is right, I will be where I need to be.
So you're going to keep on the pressure.
Oh, yeah. Pressure going to come left, right, and center. But I bring pressure where it's relative, you know, where I hear complaints from the people, and that's my job.
Well, you're doing something amazing. You're getting coalition members to agree with you.
You know, because they understand it. They understood the importance. You know, you have, like I said, other MPs that brought proposals to Gebe as well. How are you going to go against it? And sometimes you just have to put the games aside and realize that we need to do what we need to do for the interests of the people. And I know that everything that I've spoken of, I've asked it strategically in the motion. So, and every day, while we lag behind, I see people, and you know the pictures of like Curacao and Aruba, it's people sending it to me, huh? Oh, look, MP, they're saying it can't be done, look, Curacao doing it. Oh, MP, they say it's a crazy idea, look, Aruba doing it. And it makes you wonder.
Are you familiar with prepaid meters for electricity?
Yes.
That was proposed so often in Gebe. I remember saying in the board meeting how beautiful that is if we have it in St. Martin, because, for example, if Johnny have a prepaid meter and he have things hard, he doesn't have any money, he can meet me and say, hey, OG boy, I need a little $10 here to tap up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can't do that. Gebe just cut you, bam, that's it. Then you got the pit to be reconnected. The prepaid meters is long overdue in St. Martin.
Everything we do oral is overdue. I'm working on some laws, some legislations. So let me give the people of St. Martin some of the stuff. Right now, I submitted 3 draft initiatives. One with the civil code to curb the abuse of short-term contract, whereby the original civil code said after 3 short-term contracts, you're permanent. They moved it to 2, but they forgot to remove the part where I send you home for 3 months and a day and you're permanent.
It's a loophole.
Yeah, and you're not permanent, not permanent. 3 months and a day and it starts over. So what we did, we looked in, just same thing like the Netherlands, where we look at the amount of time you have worked. But we also need to define what is seasonal work to protect the employer as well and ensure that abuse is not there. So that has already been sent to the Council of Advice. I sent the LTO to help with kids born in St. Martin who are of foreign parents. We sent that. That has come back from the Council of Advice. And the lab whereby it makes it easier to facilitate work permit. Now, the reason I say this is there's a high amount of illegal hiring of foreign workers because of the strenuous procedure. And if you look at the chart for St. Martin, we do not have enough working population to support our seniors. If the chart of Aruba is like a triangle, Curacao is like a teardrop, St. Martin is a figure 8. So what that means, you have a high volume of young kids, a slim working population, and a high volume of seniors. So we do need to increase our working population, which supports our pensioners. I'm also preparing the legislation for the increment decrease of profit tax, because that is going to increase compliance. That is going to increase more business and give you a relatively closer look at your GDP. At this moment, we don't know what GDP because a lot of people hide their money. 34.5 is the highest in the region. We saw Curacao did a decrease in theirs. They have received much more revenue since then, more compliance. I am also working on the legislation to ensure that bus drivers, taxi drivers, sole proprietors are able to receive insurance. That has been something that is being worked on with the SAHA, but the SAHA is going to take a while. And you see recently one of the employer organizations, the SIA, just put out an article stating that they do have some problems with the components and that certain things should be brought piece. So I am working very hard. I'm a workaholic. I don't believe in just grandstanding. I believe if there's a problem, fix the problem. So that is one of the things that I'm going to do is fix problems and continue to push. And so I'm happy to say that 3 of those legislations have been sent back to me from the Council of Advice. So now I'm going through the process, making the NADA report. And within short, the next 4 months, we should start the debate in Parliament.
Okay. It's always a pleasure having you here, man.
You.
Anything else you want to add quickly?
Thank you, St. Martin. Regardless of anything, I will always work for you. Thank you for your support throughout my short but impactful tenure. I will continue to push and make more relevant initiatives and laws for the people of St. Martin, and always work in your benefit. So thank you for having me, especially to explain the Gebe saga, because what is happening, they're trying to put a spin for their reasoning of not supporting. But at the end of the day, time will tell, and only the people are suffering.
And I'm sure you love Gebe as I love Gebe.
Yeah, I do.
We all love Gebe, right? We need it.
We need it.
Right. Thanks, MP.
Thank you.
It's MP Ottley, leader of the UP Party. And this has been Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. See you next time. Take care. Bye.